Until the last tick of history's clock's cultural transmission meant oral transmission, and poetry passed from mouth to ear, was the principal medium of moving information across space and from one generation to the next. Oral poetry was not simply a way of telling lovely or important stories, or flexing the imagination. It was, argues the classic Eric Havelock, a massive repository of knowledge, and sort of encyclopedia of ethics, politics, history, and technology, which the effective citizens was required to learn as the core of his educational equipment. The great oral works transmitted a shared cultural heritage held in common, not on bookshelves, but in brains. Professional memorizers have existed in oral cultures throughout the world to transmit the heritage through the generations. In India, an entire class of priests was charged with memorizing the Vedas with perfect fidelity. In pre-Islamic Arabia, people known as rawis were often attached to poets as official memorizers. The Buddha's teachings were passed down in an unbroken chain of oral tradition for 4 centuries until they were committed to writing in Sri Lanka in the 1st century BC. And for centuries, a group of heard tape recorders called Tan Ima, literally reciters, memorized the oral law on behalf of the Jewish community. The most famous of Western traditions' oral works, and the first have been systematically studied, were Homer's Odyssey and Iliad. These 2 poems, possibly the first to have been written down in Greek in the Greek alphabet, had long been held as literary archetypes. However, even as they were celebrated as models to which all literature should aspire, Homer's masterworks had also long been the source of scholarly unease. The earliest modern critics sensed that they were somehow qualitatively different from everything that came after, even a little strange. For one thing, both poems were oddly repetitive in the way that they referred to characters. Odysseus was always clever Odysseus. Don was always rosy-fingered. Why would someone write like that? Sometimes the epithets seemed completely off-key. Why call the murder of Agamemnon blameless Aegisthus? Why refer to swift-footed Achilles even when he was sitting down, or to laughing Aphrodite even when she was in tears? In terms of both structure and theme, the Odyssey and Iliad were also oddly formulaic, to the point of predictability. The same narrative units gathering armies, heroic shield challenges between rivals pop up again and again, only with different characters and different circumstances. In the context of such finely spun, deliberate masterpieces, these quirks seemed hard to explain. At the heart of the unease, but the earliest works of literature were 2 fundamental questions. First, how could Greek literature have been born ex nihilo with masterpieces? Surely a few less perfect stories must have come before, and yet these were among the first on record. And second, who exactly was their author, or was its author? There were no historical records of Homer, and no trustworthy biography of the man exists beyond a few self-referential hints embedded in the texts themselves. Jean-Jacques Rousseau was one of the first modern critics,